Shabbat Shalom. This is Rabbi Cohen. I'm Rabbi Lockheim. Just kidding. Rabbi Cohen is actually in London right now, and Rabbi Lockheim is in Denver. And let's sing because it'll make the babies happy. We're on page 24, a little bit of a Yemenite version of Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lai, 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 HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lai, 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 Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lai, 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 HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seidchem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lai, 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 Lai. La la la, la 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 la, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, la 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 la, la la la, la 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 la, la la la, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we invite our president, Seth Ruskin, to share a few words.
Hello, Shabbat Shalom. I just wanted to welcome everybody here tonight and enjoy the cool weather because it's going to get warm. So with that, I will turn the service back over to...
Okay.
Did she just sit down?
You're supposed to say what you like about this place.
Well, it's cool. No,
it's very cool.
My family has been coming to Kolami or this building for the last 20 years, and it's been a very integral part of our life, and obviously I must enjoy it, and it's been home. So thank you for coming, and welcome, and Shabbat Shalom.
And we invite the Cohns, not the Cohens, but the Cohns, up to light the Shabbat candles this evening. We're on page 2 in Mishkan Tefillah.
O source of life and truth, creator of eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Amen. That's the most important part, is the Shabbat kiss at the end. So I wanted to explain before we get into the service
that when cantors have a choice and a chance to do a service, we don't mind doing a little more music than usual, but I want to reassure you that the sermon's going to be a lot shorter. And what we thought we would do this evening is do a little bit more of Kabbalat Shabbat, the receiving of the Sabbath. In older traditions, even Orthodox synagogues would do concerts on Friday afternoons before the Shabbat began. So they would have orchestras and choirs and organs and all kinds of music. And then as soon as the candles were lit, which usually happened after what we're going to do now, they would stop playing the instruments and go to the traditional form of service. The one thing that I want to point out to you is the first part of Kabbalat Shabbat that begins on page 12 has all the psalms in it, and it has 6 psalms, and they represent the 6 days of the week. Thank you very much, Karen. I paid her to say that. And leading into Lachadodi, the psalms are very joyful. These 6 psalms are, come sing joyously, and all of that, and she's trying to. So what we're going to do is do more of the psalms tonight, and then when we get to Lachadodi, we'll change our mood a little bit. Here we go. Lechuna Ranana.
Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, l'Adonai. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, l'Adonai. Naria, naria, letzuri shenu, v'kadma fanav v'todah. Naria, naria, letzuri shenu, bizvirot naria lo. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, l'Adonai. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, l'Adonai.
Let's read together at the bottom of page 12. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai. Raise a shout for our rock and deliverer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song. For Adonai is a great God, the great ruler of all divine beings.
We continue on page 13 with Psalm 96, and we also have some Hebrew lyrics which will be on the screen.
Shiru Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru Adonai shir chadash. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru Adonai shir chadash. I will
when you go to cantorial school, you think they're going to teach you every single word of every single line, and that's not what they do. They pick out little sections of different psalms for you to chant. I want to do a traditional one for you. It's very short. It's in the middle of page 14. It's actually the second paragraph of the Hebrew, and it has to do with God. Those who love God hate evil. Ohave Adonai Sineura Shomer Nafshot Chasidav Miad Rishaim Yatzilem Or Zaru Al Tzadik Uyishrele Simcha Simchu Tzadikim Badonai Vehodu lezecher kodsho.
On page 16, sing praise to Adonai with the lyre and melodious song, with trumpets and the blast of the horn. Raise a shout before Adonai the ruler. Let the sea and all within it thunder, the world and all its inhabitants. Let the rivers clap their hands, the mountains sing joyously together at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and its people with equity.
The last paragraph on page 17 of the Hebrew. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. So my question is, who here, other than Simon, was raised in a fairly traditional Jewish synagogue? Anyone? So are you familiar with the tune, Havul Adonai B'nai? We're not going to sing that. But it's the next psalm on page 18. And it's actually one of the psalms that we do both on Friday nights, and we also do it on Saturday morning. It became a really popular part of the Torah procession. Why, you may ask? Because it's long, and because when you're marching with the Torah all the way up and all the way around, it was one of those psalms that people could memorize, and they would sing it automatically. And so it's one of the psalms I kind of miss, but it's too long to sing on a Friday night. So what we're going to do is sing the tag ending of it, and it was a song that was written by, you all know Shalom Rav, so Rabbi Danny Freelander and cantor Jeff Klepper wrote this other beautiful song called Adonai Oz Le'amo Yitain. Adonai Oz Le'amo Yitain, Adonai Oz Le'amo Yitain, Adonai Oz Le'amo Yitain, Adonai Yivarech et Amo, Adonai Yivarech et Amo, Shalom,
amo yitain, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo.
May God grant strength to God's people. May God bestow on God's people well-being. So the question is, where else do we sing that? It was really silly because it became the Reform movement's end to the Birkat Hamazon. And the Lord grant strength unto his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace. And we all used to do this at camp. So it became a really wonderful tagline that God will grant strength to all of us, no matter what we face in our lives. Now, here's the interesting thing. We've reached Lecha Dodi. And we're going to do a tune that I grew up with and Sarah grew up with, and I'll bet half of you grew up with it. And the funny thing is it was written by Zulzer. Zulzer was a famous composer in Germany, and he wrote music not for the masses to sing. He wrote it for the Chazan. And he wrote one piece that you all know, and it goes like this: Shema Yisrael. He didn't want anybody else singing it but the leader of the service. And yet, I think it's the one prayer that everybody knows. But this version of Lecha Dodi was also written by him, and it was meant to be by grand choir and organ and whatever was going on in the Reformed temple, and not for you. It's for you, so sing it. But the other thing I just want to throw out there is the first part of Kabbalat Shabbat, the first 6 Psalms, were considered so joyful. Sing unto God and do it joyfully. And people who were in mourning would wait outside, and then they would be escorted in during the end of Lecha Dodi, because it was seen as being too painful to be in the midst of all this happiness and joy. So we're allowed to be joyful and sing Romamu, but now let's sing Lecha Dodi and welcome in the Shabbat bride.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmi'anu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet ve'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Yitoreri, yitoreri, ki vorech kumi ori, uri, uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi
to welcome Shabbat.
בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated and join us in this joyful song that says that the righteous will bloom like a date palm. Page 22.
צדיק אתה יפרח, כארץ בלבנון יזכה יזכה, איי איי איי. צדיק אתה יפרח, כארץ בלבנון יזכה יזכה. שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. צדיק אתה יפרח, כארץ בלבנון יזכה יזכה, איי איי איי. צדיק אתה יפרח, כארץ בלבנון יזכה יזכה. עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני, צורי ולא עוולת בו, איי איי איי. צדיק אתה יפרח, כארץ בלבנון יזכה יזכה, איי איי איי. צדיק אתה יפרח, כארץ בלבנון יזכה יזכה.
So you may or may not have noticed that the first part of the service, it's very joyous, but it has a certain feel to it. And when we get to this next Psalm 93, which is the last of the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat, so Psalm 92, which we just sang, was a psalm for Shabbat. That's the one that's for the day of Shabbat, that says today is Shabbat. Now we have Psalm 93, which is added on as a transition into the Ma'ariv service. And I'm gonna chant it in a cantorial mode, and you'll hear the music change in the middle. So it starts in major and it changes into a different feel to get us into the next section of the service. We're on page 23. Adonai malach geut lavesh, lavesh Adonai osit hazan. Excuse me. Aftikon tevel batimot, nachon kisacha me'az me'olam ata. Noseu neharot Adonai, noseu neharot kolam, isu neharot dochiam. Mikolot maim rabim adirim, mishpereyam adir bamarom Adonai nemnu edotecha nemnu meod leveitecha nava kodesh Adonai leorech yamim. We continue on page 26. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael Bagala, Bagala Uvizman Kariv Veiberu Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Leolam Ulol Me'almaya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekodesha brichu Le'ela min kol birchata V'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran be'alma ve'imeru Amen. Please rise.
Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. And we continue on page 31. 31. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night as heaven spans into infinity. You set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim.
Amen.
Page 32. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbeinu ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגי יומם ולילה נגי יומם ולילה it's your tradition, you may be seated at this time.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובישעריך, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
So I want to tell you something amazing about the Shema and the Ve'ahavta. I was taught early on, as many of you have been, that the Shema should be the last thing on your lips before you go to bed at night. It should also be the last thing that you say before you die. And it's one of those things that I believe the reason we say it at night before we go to sleep is because there used to be a fear of going to sleep. We might not wake up. So I'm gonna share something with you. My dad was in hospice for 5 days, and he was in a coma. He never woke up, but he was breathing, and I could hear him breathing, and I would spend the night in the hospice with him. And one night I woke up at like 1:30 in the morning because I had a leg cramp. You know how that is when you wake up, you stretch, and all of a sudden you can't do anything. So I walked around a little, and then I decided to try to go back to sleep. And I lay down, closed my eyes, and then sat bolt upright and realized I hadn't said the Shema and the Ve'ahavta. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I said the Shema, and I said the Ve'ahavta, and I listened, and he had stopped breathing. It was like he was waiting for me to say the Shema and the Ve'ahavta for him. But there's a happier side to this, and that's that if ever I'm singing to Abby and she won't go to sleep, and I sing every song she knows and we tell stories, I start the Shema and the Ve'ahavta before I get halfway through. So it's magic because it brings peace to whoever hears it. So when you chant it next time, think about what it's saying and the idea that God is one, God is there, God is protecting you all the time. And when you go to sleep, you're safe no matter what, because it's almost like bringing God's presence into your room at night. Let's move on to Micha Mocha, page 40.
Ay lay 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 da da da, ya ba bye bye bim bum. Ay lay 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 da da da, ya ba bye bye bim bum. Ay lay da 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 da, ya ba bye bye bim bum. Ay lay da 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 da, ya ba bye bye bim bum. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Norati lo dosefele, norati lo dosefele, malchutecha ra'uvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, ze ישמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי לי 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 יא ביי ביי bim bam. Ay rai 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 ya bye 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 bim bam. Ay rai 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 ya bye 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 bim bam. Ay rai 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 ya bye 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 bim bam. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך מתקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך והושיענו למען שמך ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ופרוס עלינו שלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. We continue on page 44.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Meini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש
נחש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We did a lot of singing, we did a lot of reading. Now I'm going to give you a choice. In traditional synagogues, because they have 3 services a day, they'll do the Amidah out loud in the morning and out loud in the afternoon, and in the evening service, they do it silently. And I'm going to give you the option to stand or sit, but the Amidah, the main body of our service, is between pages 46 and 60. You can sing it to yourself. You can read the English. You can just pray the words that are in your heart. But we're going to do the Amidah silently tonight so that you can get a chance to see what all those words that we're singing about mean. So if you'd like to rise, you may. And Chris, if you want to do some soft stuff, that would be lovely. I just don't want that over this. Page 60. Shalom Rab. Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha. Tasim le'olam. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. This is the part of our service where we ask for a special prayer of healing, of body, of spirit. Those of you at home, please send those names in the chat or in the comment section or however you send them in so that we can read the names of your loved ones. We asked for special blessing for Margot Kramer, Aliyah Ben Avram, Steve Rodgefeller, and Gary Opper. If there are others in this room who are praying for people who are not on our long-term list, please say those names now. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Yes, Andy. Thank you. Herb? Thank you. In the back, I think I saw somebody. No? Okay, Mitch, go ahead. Thank you. Sharon? Thank you. And David? Thank you. Anyone else? Did you have someone? No? Okay.
Oh,
I can't. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Thank you.
we also have in our thoughts this evening Charlotte Bramblett, Myra Broadman, Mike Sklar, Billy Adler-Ploy, Sandra Foss, and Joanne Neff. And
Did I miss somebody? Thank you. Thank you. We rise, if that's your tradition, for the Misha Berach. You can find it on 53, and pray for my allergies because they're killing me.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor Abracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Thank you. You may be seated.
Aha, it's my chance. So those of you who've heard this story before, I talk about my dad all the time. And this story was when my parents used to travel in Europe. And one time, and it's not the one I told a couple weeks ago about the Shema, so don't worry. This is they were in another little shtetl somewhere in Lithuania, and they went into a synagogue, and people would rise to go up to the ark, and they would take 3 steps forward, and then they would bow like this, take 3 steps in this position, and then stand up again. And they would take the Torah out of the ark, they would bow low, back up, stand up again, and they asked the rabbi, why do you do that? We've never seen that tradition anywhere we go. And I could embroider it and say, and then he asked the rabbi's father, and then they asked the rabbi. No. The rabbi said, we used to have a chandelier in front of the bima, and so you had to bend over, and it became our tradition. The interesting thing is traditions arise, and some of them are really old. Some of them might be a chandelier in front of the bima, but there are other traditions that I've seen that these are true ones. And that's that when I lived in Sydney and I worked at a congregation in Sydney, Australia, when somebody stood up to do the Torah blessing, their whole family would stand up to enjoy their honor. It was such a lovely, lovely tradition because you felt so, especially when you were a kid and your father or mother were called up to bless the Torah and you would just stand, it was your moment. And so that was a really lovely tradition. They had others like when the Torah gets taken out and paraded around the sanctuary. Have you ever seen people go like this? They go like this and then they kiss their pinky. It's very practical. It's because when you're in a full sanctuary and you're all trying to get out to touch the Torah and kiss it, you can't reach it. So some brilliant person, and it's only in the last 30 years or so, came up with this idea, well, if you can't reach the Torah, just stick your pinky out, or your talit, or your prayer book towards the Torah, and kiss that. There are lots of traditions that people have. There's one that Rabbi Salson reminded me of when he was here, because he studied in South Africa, and a lot of the people in Australia had moved there from South Africa during apartheid. And it was one of my favorite things, and I'd forgotten it, and that's that when somebody dies, and you stand up to say Kaddish on the anniversary on their yort site, the traditional greeting for those people in South Africa is, may you have long life. And when I heard that in Australia, I loved it. It moved me so much because it's not like you're ignoring, I don't go up to somebody and say, oh, I saw you stand up for your site. You could go up and say, tell me about your loved one. But when you just say, may you have long life in Australia, you're basically acknowledging someone has a yort site. If they want to talk to you about it, they can. But you're not butting into somebody else's pain. The thing that I would like to suggest is that traditions are wonderful. Traditions are important to all of us. Some people have silly traditions that they do with their kids before bed every night. Some people have serious traditions that they've been passing down from generation to generation. The only thing, and I promised you it'd be really short, the only thing that I would like to suggest to you is don't do something blindly out of tradition. Figure out why you're doing it. Don't just bend over because there used to be a chandelier in front of the ark. When you want to bend over in front of the ark and bow, it's a beautiful gesture, but give it your own meaning. Don't just do it blindly because everybody did it where I was growing up, or everybody did it in my shul. Give your rituals meaning for yourselves, because none of them, I promise you, none of them came down from Mount Sinai. Moses did not come down and say you have to bow in front of the ark, or you have to face the ark and go Godlu, or you have to do this, or you have to do that. They're all rituals that people created because they had meaning for them. So I'm just going to challenge you as grown-up Jewish people, and James, because you're really smart, come up with, imbue your rituals with meaning. Don't just do something because everybody around you does it. If everybody stands up, you don't have to stand up. If everybody sits down, you can stay standing if you want to, but know why. Shabbat Shalom.
We have a tradition.
A
Speaking of
tradition?
traditions.
But I like this one.
We have a tradition that Rabbi Cohen introduced to us, which is that each Friday night we take a moment to acknowledge good things that happened to us during this last week. So if you have something good to share, Lynn Ray. We had our first High Holy Day choir rehearsal last night. Yes. And I see many of our choir members here. Yeah. Somebody else. Ruth. Your brother from California visited. Lovely. Lovely. Bree. You got air conditioning in your car. It's about time. It's only going to be 113. Is that right, Simon?
There's a psalm for that one. Hallelujah.
So, Andy.
Lovely.
Your granddaughter brought her family to services tonight. That's wonderful. Yes.
Uh-oh.
You came into this. You came into this room for the first time in many, many years. And with that, okay, last one, Lanny.
Awesome.
Lanny's granddaughter and stepdaughter are visiting. That's lovely. Okay, so we will sing Shehechianu in honor of all of these wonderful moments. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Names for, if in our online community, if you have names for Kaddish, you can send those to Trista in the Zoom chat or in the comments on whatever platform you are joining us from. And we rise for the Aleinu on page 282.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latei kedula liotzer breshit, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני
Haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Please be seated. We have a tradition of when someone has to say Kaddish for a yort site, you may come up and take one of the stones and place it on the table, feel its weight in your hands, and remember your loved one. Sadness, those who were laid to rest this past week. Jeffrey David Cooper, son of Mary Cooper. Judy Rubin, friend of Andy and Chuck Elkins. Shannon Marie Luck, wife of Jason Billington, mother to Emma Elaine and Finnegan Levy Hivaranen, daughter of Robin, Carl, and Cheryl, niece of Johanna Weisberg. We also note Joe Riley. Joe was the husband of Deborah Riley and brother of Michael Riley. And while we won't be saying Kaddish for these three people because they have not been laid to rest yet, I wanted to announce the passing of Fred Brodsky and Joan Katz, and this afternoon Rhoda Mendez passed away. And they will all be laid to rest in the coming week, and there will be emails sent out to the congregation. We also note the Shloshim of Linda Greenberg, Linda Capen Gross, Shelby David Silverman, Mary Hahn, Henry R. Mandel, Betty Orman, David Aslauer, Ann Cohn, Rachamim Ben Sarah, Alice Garber, and the yort sites that were observed this week. And if you would like, you can stand when I mention your loved one's name. Michael Abel, Bella Abrams, Lillian Androw, Elizabeth Bear, Marilyn Bart, Michael Belkoff, Amram Ben David, Tirza Benjamin, Frida Behrens, Abel Behrens, Warren Blumenfeld, Fanny Cortund, Pauline Goldman, Hortense Goldsmith, Joseph Goldstein, Pearl Held, Herb Kahn, Marion Careyhard, Diane Toffel Kirkpatrick, William Koner, Samuel Krieger, Toby Kuderoff, Bert Landau Sr., Philip Levin, Hyman Lipman, Alfred Lipsy, Sadie Marcus, Jerry Steve Marcus, Reed McCarthy, Evelyn McNeil, Arlene Neff, Edith Nussbaum, Solomon Rudkoff, Walter Rubin, Elaine Shermer, Mary Schlotzman, Judith Schoenberg, Nathan Scharfman, Dan Sherman, Lillian Silverman, Rachel Silverman Bober, Clara Somlo, Jack Spector, Carol Steiner, Kenneth Stryer, Elizabeth Janowitz Swartz, Jacob Wallman, Eleanor Weil, and Rabbi Joseph Weisenbaum.
And from our online community, Irene Lohman.
Are there any others who are saying Kaddish this evening? Please rise if you are and say those names. Thank you. Thank you. Was there anyone else? We rise in support of these loved ones and join in the words of the Kaddish on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'olma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'l'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shemei d'kudusha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru
Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. V'imru, v'imru, v'imru Amen. V'imru, v'imru, v'imru Amen. Please be seated. Page 294 at the bottom, our closing song. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, imru, Amen. Ya la 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 la. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Amen. Just kidding. I've always wanted to do that.
You can. You're the cantor.
Go ahead, Sarah. No, I'll do it another time, and I'll just see the look on the rabbi's face when I do it. I've always wanted to bring that song down to a very gentle end and then go back into ya-la-la-la, like we do the end of the Birkat Hamazon at camp. Okay, sing, girl.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu
ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר לציית מצרים קיוונו בחרת אותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת אמן לחיים המוציא לחם מן הארץ we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'te'avon, go enjoy the oneg.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Oi.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.